What's happening, YouTube? Anthony on Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film with a brand new PRLostGalaxy2014 review, continuing with Super 7 Ultimates Mighty Morphin Power Ranger figures with the original Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger with both Kimberly and Catherine. So I don't mean just Kimberly, but you also have a Catherine head on the side. So as we continue the the video series of Super 7 Mighty Morphin reviews on my channel, next I wanted to do the very first female ranger of the two. So we do need to focus on what was the most popular of all of those, because, you know, I don't want to start talking like a lot of them, because everybody knows Mighty Morphin Pink is a fan favorite. It's iconic because, you know, without Kimberly, none of the other Pink Rangers, including you, Catherine, would even exist. So it's understandable. And we already know Mighty Morphin Pink is iconic, because anytime you see that shade of pink, that pterodactyl helmet, whether it be Kimberly or, well, mostly Kimberly, because, you know, Kimberly had more appearances in that suit than Catherine did, no offense. But, now, you got to admit, this is a decent Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger figure as opposed to Hasbro's own efforts in the Lightning Collection, that's for sure. But I'm going to talk about some of the detailing done on the figure as opposed to what was done with Hasbro in the Lightning Collection last time I did earlier this year in my reviews. And so this is the front of the package with the two civilian heads of Kimberly and Cat. And then you had Cat when she was a white cat, literally. And then, several of her accessories. Oh, stuff is falling over. I hate this. Several accessories with, like, hands, power morpher, two different versions of the power bow, and a power crystal. All the accessories that are all in the back, if you can see, because there's just so many of those accessories. And then on the back of the packaging is a render of the Pink Ranger, and then her backstory, and then pterodactyl power coin symbol on the back of the packaging, as obvious. So with that further ado, let's take a look at Mighty Morphin Pink, what all she got with that. Too much pink energy is dangerous, regardless how much pink energy. But we're gonna unbox and open and take a look at the figure if it stacks up better than the Lightning Collection effort. Without further ado, Pink Ranger power. Okay, now that we got Mighty Morphin Pink out of the package, because man, she had like so many accessories, so many hands, and then of course, like all the other Rangers, the different blade blaster formations. So we're going to go over several of those hands that she has, because she does have plenty of them that I do want to point out. You got, you know, the hands when she's wielding her power bow, when she wants to shoot arrows, and then the different blade blaster formations. So here's all the different hands that came with Mighty Morphin Pink. And so you got some of the hands where it's all balled, you know, where she's balling her fist like she want to punch a putty or so. Then you got hands where she's, you know, shooting an arrow with the power bow, and then whatever and the like, and then some hands for when she's, you know, holding her blade blaster. Speaking of the power bow, there's three different power bow things. You got this standard throwback power bow from like the original 90s toys, so you got that, you know, accessory piece. Then you got this one power bow that looks oddly like the one from the Lightning Collection, unless this is like the power bow for when you put the weapons together. Well, I didn't do this with the Red Ranger earlier, and you can kind of get a glimpse of the pterodactyl dinosaur coin on, you know, for the gold part here, and also here. And this is what the power bow looks like front and back. And I say this has more more depth and dimension than the Lightning Collection one, in the way how they sculpted the bow from this one. Now the third and last bow, which I put on the Pink Ranger's hand, this has the pink string attachment to the crossbow, so you have that accessory piece. Okay, let go of the bow. And you got all three different versions of the power bow. You got this 90s, unpainted throwback one. Then this for when they put the power blaster together, and then the individual one where you just want to, and also gotta be careful with the string, because the string is easy to rip off and all of that, and you don't want that. And then the arrow piece for when, as usual, because I've done archery before, but man, I just forgot what it's like. And also be careful with this arrow too, because it may be, you know, will go missing very easily. So you got that arrow piece, and then, you know, shoot it, and there you go. Now, when I looked at this accessory, this wand string thing, I know this is not that thunder whip that Kimberly used in the first Power Rangers movie, but it almost feels exactly like that. I know she did use this kind of accessory, battle accessory, in one episode of like season 2. I think in the Bloom of Doom episode of season 2, I believe. So it's great that they added this, but I was like, it kind of feels unnecessary. Now let's take a look at the Blade Blasters. You got the 90s throwback unpainted one from the original, you know, automorphic flip head figures from back in the day. And then the, whoops, I dropped the Blade Blaster. I'm trying to get it. You got the Blade Blaster that's, you know, the full bladed version. Then you got this that makes it look like a, you know, a shorter blade. You got the short blade one. And then you got the Blade Blaster, which I already put in the Pink Ranger's holster to her suit. And then you have, of course, the gun formation. And then we take a look at the Power Morpher. And you got that accessory. You can get a good glimpse of the pterodactyl power coin on that Morpher. You can get some semblance of the words Power Rangers on the dial of the Morpher. And there you go. And now we take a look at the civilian heads for Kimberly and Catherine, as I do need to point out about the Catherine head a little bit. Now, Kimberly first. Now, I would say this is a slightly better representation of Amy Jo Johnson as Kimberly, as opposed to what I saw from the Lightning Collection. I don't know if this head can fit on that Lightning Collection Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger. Whenever I post a photo of it later on after this review is being filmed, I will probably see if it will work, because I know this is only suitable for the Super 7 figure. This is not a bad likeness of Kimberly, though you get some shots of Amy Jo as Kim on this head sculpt. I know this is mostly harkening back to Kimberly's season 2 appearance a little bit, because given her hair. But even though, again, some of the way how some of the characters' facial features from Super 7, they just look very, very cartoony. But again, I'll tolerate this Kimberly head sculpt from Super 7 as opposed to the very first Kimberly head that we got from the Wave 2 Lightning Collection release of Mighty Morphin Pink. Because, again, I still don't like that Kimberly head. I like the one from the Ninjetti release, but just no. But this is an alright Kim head, and even wait until when I get the Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger remastered figure later in the Lightning Collection and see how that stacks up with this and the other heads of Kimberly. And I do like the detail on, well, very so detail on her hair, just like before, and, you know, the piercings and all of that, but, you know. Catherine's head, jeez, like, is this supposed to look like Catherine Sutherland? Like, you sure they didn't, like, I don't know, like, the way how Super 7 did her likeness on this figure, it just looks weird. Like, when compared to the Pink Ninja Ranger V2 figure with Catherine, and even when I get the Pink Ranger 2-pack with Mighty Morphin Pink and Zeo Ranger 1, that both has Catherine's likeness on it, those looked more like Catherine. I don't know what this was striving for when they did this head sculpt, because this was no way anywhere like Catherine at all whatsoever, the way how they did it, because it just looked less like her. And I don't know what it's like. What is this face supposed to look? I mean, does this even look like Catherine? And it's just the face just looks off. Like, it's like somebody must have did a better job doing Kimberly's face, but they said fuck Catherine. Like, you know, she gets the most ugliest fucking face ever. So we're gonna give her a really not so ugly looking face to replicate what her actress looks like in the photos. But like, this don't hardly in some shots look anything like her. But she looks like she's going to cry or some stuff. But I don't even think she's even smiling or anything. I mean, it's just that likeness of her barely looks. Again, it looks barely look anything like Catherine Sutherland as Catherine. Catherine Hillard. But like, you know, Catherine with a C, Catherine with a K, you know. Hasbro's, you know, attempt at her in the, you know, with the Ninja figure and the Zeo Ranger 1 figure was better attempts at that of her likeness, but Super 7 just did a really bad job on Catherine's face. Even when I saw this when in the packaging alone, it just looks like this again does not look nothing like her. It's like, what did they do? What the heck did Super 7 do? Okay, enough griping. I know I've talked about it enough for about 3 minutes, but it's just, God, that is terrible. I mean, of course, the most greatest Pink Ranger of all time get a decent head, but her successor gets a really crappy head sculpt. Wow. Shame on you, Super 7, for that. And I understand. Kimberly will always be number one with most people. I get it. I get it. Now, as for Percy the cat, that was Catherine's, you know, first form before we saw her as a person. Yeah, I tried to get it out of the box, but it's just giving me a hard time. Give me a moment. Getting the cat. Okay, so cutting to this point, getting the cat out of the package was a little hard. So this is what the cat looked like. Catherine in her white kitty form with those freaking scary green eyes. Man, you're really giving people, I mean, seeing this even in the toys is like giving people vibes and nightmares and being reminded of like that dog in the intro to the Goosebumps TV show with those glowy green eyes on that dog. But well, again, Power Rangers did it first, but then Goosebumps did it, and I'm just like, yeah, that nostalgia for us 90s kids, I know, but it's just like that white cat with those green eyes, man, just creepy. But yeah, nice accessory, and you know, for that figure and all that. So, and then lastly, we take a look at the Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger figure. When I took it out of the package, please be precautious if you're going to get this figure. When I took this arm out, the joint of the the arm fell out, popped out of the joint, and well, I did manage to pop it back in, but it's just got to be very careful with this arm because it came out. Because again, these Super 7 figures are very fragile, and even though they're like, again, on the bottom of the box says these are adult collectibles, not a toy, but fuck it, I don't care if they're not a toy. They still act like toys, but they are definitely more collectibles than toys. But this pink Mighty Morphin Ranger figure that Super 7 did is exactly the same shade as the Lightning Collection one. But except on Lightning Collection, this Pink Ranger stayed the same consistent shade of pink all the way through, from the helmet to the upper part of the suit to the lower part of the suit, skirt included, and on the boots. So it stayed exactly the same shade. I don't know why when like Hasbro's different Pink Ranger figures, they just didn't want to stay consistent with the shade of pink for some reason. It doesn't make no sense, because again, this is an alright decent, Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger figure, and I do have to praise Super 7 for keeping the pink consistent. Because when Hasbro did it for their Lightning Collection, they wasn't staying consistent with the shades of pink, because that was one of the few QC problems people, fans had, including somewhat myself too, because I have complained about the QC issues on every Pink Ranger that I had, and I'm already wary about the Pink Rangers that I already got currently in the Lightning Collection, like In Space Pink later. So yeah, so the Pink Ranger, they did a good job on the helmet, kept it exactly how it is on the show. But though I say the way how they did the pterodactyl visor is a little too big. Like, compared to what Hasbro did and even what Bandai did. I mean, I guess it is fairly exactly right to how it looks, but it's just, again, the visor looks a little too big. Like, some of the shaping on it is a little too big. I mean, it's like they're trying to harken to the 1995 movie a little bit. Of course, we're never going to get Super 7 figures of the 95 movie, because I don't think Super 7 even has the license to do any more Power Rangers, even alongside, accompanied by Hasbro, because, because, again, Super 7 only did MMPR and nothing else, of course. So, it's just simple as that. And since this is the first female Ranger I had to open in this video series, we're going to take a look at some articulations. So pointing out for the legs down, You can kind of get her legs up and down and have her sitting and all that, but since the skirt is plastic, and you know it's also flimsy plastic for the skirt this time, you're not going to actually like move her. You know, you can kind of move, you know, the movements to the legs up and down. You can, you know, of course, squeeze her out and you know, spread those legs. So because again, since Kimberly's a gymnast, you'd think she would, you know, spread like this, but again, this is not like those other figures of Mighty Morphin Pink I did. Well, say for the Legacy one, but you got that leg articulation. As for the arms, you got to be careful with the arm, especially this one in particular. So you got the elbow crunch on this arm, and I don't know about turning this. Yeah, you can turn the upper arms up and down too. And then the hand, okay, I didn't notice about the Super 7 figures because when you put a different hand in, you get some articulation of up and down, left and right on the hands too. So I didn't know that. And then this elbow crunch on this hand, you got that too. I mean, this arm, you got that too. And also turn, I think, I gotta be very careful with this one. Turning the upper forearm. As for the head, you can just turn the head all directions. But unfortunately, unlike my other Power Ranger figures from Super 7, you can't tilt the Pink Ranger's head up and down because the head joint and the neck joint is just keeping her head exactly that way. But also, you can tilt her upper area, you know, abdomen and all of that, left and right in any way. You can also flex her back up and down too, and abdomen. That's about that. And then as for turning her torso around just from those directions, given how they had to sculpt the skirt onto the figure because she's the only female ranger with the skirt and not yellow. And then, yeah, okay, now back to the legs again. Knee crunch, you got the knee crunch, good on the figure, but just gotta be careful on some joints because from some reviews I heard people complain about chipped paint or broken joints on their Mighty Morphin Pinks. Well, maybe some folks were just not handling with care with some of these figures. I don't know, they're lost. But okay, now on to the leg movement, you know, feet movement. Now you can, you know, tilt the feet, but you just can't do no ankle pivots on Pink, unfortunately. I think the same with Mighty Morphin Yellow, because I tried getting ankle pivots on Pink before filming, especially this portion. So unfortunately, you can't do no ankle pivots on the feet on this one, unfortunately. Now let's take a look at Mighty Morphin Pink and how she looks with the other Rangers I've reviewed so far. And as we close out this review for the Pink Ranger, this is how she stands with the two Tommies and Jason. So, you know, Jason or Rocky, either way. So this is how they stack up. And now that Mighty Morphin is coming together, because I already got the whole set, now all that leaves now left is yellow, black, and blue, and then I've already completed Mighty Morphin yet again. So that's now my third Mighty Morphin Power Ranger set of figures for collective, you know, as a collector I've gotten so far, because I just feel like, you know, with every single Mighty Morphin thing I've gotten, I'm just like, I don't think I want any more sets. I don't want any more figures. I'm happy and satisfied with what I got. But now that we got, you know, pink, red, green, glow in the dark, and white out, all that leaves now left is the other three. Now, I mind the regular Mighty Morphin Green Ranger release. I will get around that later sometime if I have the time for that. But I just want to show off the display of all 7 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers once I'm done completing as of this video and this review recording. So let's put the red one aside away for a moment. Because, you know, that hot debate about which version of Tommy do you think Pink is suited with more? White Ranger Tommy or Green Ranger Tommy? Well, then again, Tommy is the, you know, again, both green and white is Tommy, but just got to think about which is the more superior Tommy that, you know, Kimberly would rather be with. Now, excluding Catherine, but if it was, you know, just still simply Kimberly, I would say, but if you're really more of a season oneer, you know, you definitely have to take White out of the equation. And obviously, Kimberly and Tommy during season 1, early season 2, before Tommy lost the Green Ranger powers completely. Because that's how it's always been for most folks. Because, you know, everybody always talks about the first season a lot. So you would have this, or if you are a season 2, season 3 person like myself, I would do White Ranger Tommy with Kimberly, and even later Catherine, even though Kimberly was the Pink Ranger during Tommy's White Ranger era. Even though the White Ranger probably had more appearances, or equally almost the same appearances, you know, Tommy's Green Ranger era. But Kimberly was the Pink Ranger the longest in that suit. Catherine only had it for a few episodes, and also counting Once and Always. So it's a little indecisive whether if you know, based on Annie's preference. But I'd rather go with Tommy and Kimberly during season 2 and 3. Because, you know, I'm really more of a season 2 and 3 Mighty Morphin person. Now, I mind the season 1, early season 2 era as well. But it's just like, again, which Tommy do you think Pink is suited with more? Because, again, that hot debate about Tommy and Kimberly again. Because, you know, just see how they the two Tommies stack up with Pink. Even though, again, and as much as, you know, people wish that Jason and Kimberly was a thing. Now, if you take Tommy out, Jason and Kimberly could have been a thing, but, you know, no wonder that's why in the Power Rangers Turbo movie, they showed up just for fan service sake, and knowing Jason and Kimberly, yeah, never really had anything. It was always, you know, freaking Tommy. So put Green Ranger Tommy back. And here we are with this formation from the Once and Always special, when Austin St. John, JDF, and Amy couldn't, you know, appear for the 30th anniversary special. The 3 OGs that Robo Rita kidnapped, and we saw his Lightning Collection figures that were captured. And yes, I know the final time we would see Jason, you know, the final time we would have Tommy ever as a character, but just only in the suit, because we know JDF didn't want to come back for the 30th anniversary special, but we still had the Green Ranger one final time in the original continuity. And so this is how this would be for that formation of the group. So, in last thoughts, Mighty Morphin Pink is solid, and, you know, I did like the amount of accessories that she came with, even though a few I didn't like. I did like the shade of pink on this figure. It stayed consistent. And only 1 of 2 civilian heads for the Pink Ranger I did, you know, thought was a vast improvement from the Lightning Collection release. So that's it for my review on Super 7's Pink Ranger for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So now that leaves Yellow, Black, and Blue left, so stay tuned for those reviews as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time with a brand new review.